Oh, you gave us the roll call. Oh, okay.
No, I got the picture for the roll call vote. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special primary night edition of a Democrat and a Republican walk into a bar. I am your Democratic host, Dr. Cindy Banyai.
And I am your Republican host, Sean Hartman, coming to you live from 1025, an actual bar for once. And I am drinking, it's called the Bananas. It's a delicious banana drink here at 1025 in Cape Coral. They have one in Fort Myers too, though.
Fantastic. And I am actually coming to you live from the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. And before we start off, guess who we just saw upstairs?
Who'd you meet?
Byron Donalds.
Oh, Byron is at the convention?
Weird.
That is very weird. I don't know why Byron, what is he, probably like a Fox News thing, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe he went in to give some little commentary or something, because all
That's
the
what I'm
news,
thinking.
Fox, everybody, CNN is all the way up there, but a friend of mine just ran into him and
I'm recording it. We'll definitely talk about the Democratic National Convention when we have our regular episode on Sunday. But we have, of course, a local primary. You know, the primary is going on here in Florida. And we wanted to take the time to reach out to you guys and let you know what happened. So who wants to hear some results? There's some big results, some pretty surprising results also. We do have all the precincts in. I'm going to pull it up. My screen, my video might freeze if you're watching us live.
I was gonna say, where are you pulling your data from?
I am pulling it straight from the elections website.
Okay.
So these numbers are straight from the lead.vote website. They are saying 97 out of 99 precincts reporting. So it's basically done.
So it does say unofficial results, and that will be important here in just a moment as we go through all of the elections here. But there's some of them that I think we can talk about.
We have one of the candidates over here, one of our city council candidates, Charlie Pease, who was one of the people in the unofficial
vote. Hey, if you're going to show him on camera,
am I on video or just a podcast?
Oh, good point. I do have to put the camera back on, don't I? Hang on one moment. So we got. Yes. So we have Charlie Pease over here. He is one of the two candidates for the Cape Coral City Council.
How are you?
This is say hi to the audience over here at Democrat and a Republican walk into a bar. That is Cindy. Yes. He was, if any of you remember, he was one of the people we did our debate with. And
he's going to be
Charlie,
going out to the general election in fall. So
he will be going out, and him and Joe will be coming out of the general election. It was a very tight race, 2,000 votes between them. Bobby Welsh, unfortunately, did not make it, or fortunately, if you didn't like him. I know a lot of people weren't big fans. But Charlie, what are you going to do as our city councilman when you get elected, if you get elected?
Well, the first thing I'm going to do is just bring everybody together and make sure that we're leading with trust and transparency and listening to people. And we just have to make sure that we get everybody back in the community working toward the same goals, which is getting the growth right here in Cape Coral, making sure that we're working with all of our stakeholders and industry partners collaboratively to make sure that we get the growth right, and getting workforce right with the proper training programs and things like that I'm working on personally with my with Cape Coral Technical College. But we also need to make sure that we bring in different industries, more diverse industry, try to bring in technology-focused campuses and things like that, so that we can get higher-paying jobs to keep the talent here in Cape Coral, so they're not graduating and moving on and leaving our city. So those are, for me, the two main things. I think there's some low-hanging fruit out there. The stipend we're going to end. I'm not going to take the stipend. We're going to get rid of the stipend and change the charter. Bring back the Budget Review Committee and all the different committees that were dissolved to try to get to the stipend, which is what I believe that the council did, is they dissolved the non-statutory boards to ultimately get to the stipend so they could dissolve and take over the CRA. We need to restore those things, and we need to make sure that we are working on workforce and working on economic development and bringing in the right types of jobs.
Excellent.
Okay,
So that's
thank
Charlie
you.
Pease. People who are fans of the show, you probably already saw him because he did our District 5 debate with Joe Kilrain. And we'll start with City Council, actually. We'll go down to up because we got some of the winners here today from City Council. So for City Council, excuse me.
So let's just clarify for the audience,
So
Sean. Let's just clarify the rules for Cape Coral are that unless you receive 50% plus one in the primary, that it's the top two vote getters go on to the general.
No. It's always the top two vote getters, no matter what, even if someone gets more than 50%. School board, if it's more than 50%, it's the top two. So Joe Kilrain and Charlie Pease came out of District 5 with Charlie Pease winning by about 300 to 400 more votes, 34% to 32%. Bobby got 21%, 5,500 votes. So very bad finish for Bobby, who of course was the only guy who voted no on the stipend. But unfortunately, because he took the stipend, a lot of people still decided to punish him for it. For District 4, it looks like we have the battle of council members. Jennifer Nelson came out on top with 34% of the vote. Richard Carr comes out on second with 25. William Matthews had a very close third. I was a big supporter of William Matthews. That was about an 800 vote difference. So unfortunately, he did not make it out. In District 3, my girl Debbie McCormick, who's around here somewhere, I think she's getting interviewed by Wink News, came out at 29%. Derek Dunnell got 32%. So those two are coming out into the general election. A very close race between them. Dan Ludlow got 20%, and Chad Bruning only had 17%. The District 2 was a shocker. Lori Lehman came out with 40% of the vote, the highest vote turnout. Or the higher vote amount. Dan Shepard came in second with 32, and Craig Unrow is out at 26%. So that one was not one I was expecting. I thought it would be Lori or Craig or Dan. I did not expect it to be Lori and Dan. So that was a big shocker. So we're obviously going to be reaching out to these candidates to do city council debates with them. I do know Debbie and Derek are both interested in doing debates. Obviously, Rachel and her opponent in District 7, which didn't have a race, are interested. And so hopefully we can get Lori and Dan to do a debate. We'll see what happens there. The school board is going to be Sheridan Chester, your Democrat, versus Vanessa. Joshua Melendez came in third with 21%. Vanessa came out on top with 47, just shy of the full 50. And Sheridan came in third with 31. In District 3, it looks like we might have a recount. Bill Ribble won by, looks like less than 100 votes. Yes, I am correct. It is. We're
going to be anytime that there's less than 2% difference, there'll be a recount.
Won by less than a 0.5%, basically. So we could be, and this is something. Remember, this is I go back to what you said. You had a lot of Republicans supporting the Democrats, so that is interesting. Melissa Giovanelli did beat out Carol 56 to 43. Elizabeth Creer got elected as judge 51 to 48. DeSantis's appointed judge Eric Leontev lost to Tracy Redd 55 to 44. It looks like at least in Lee County, your guy Matthew Montalban. Oh no, actually it looks like Manny Lopez at least won Lee County, but that was a low. That's just in Lee County.
So that one's a pretty close race as well. For Matthew Montalban and Manny Lopez, it still looks like there's 3 precincts left to report on that, and that race is under 100 votes as well.
Yeah, that one's a tight race, it looks like. So now, for state committee man and state committee woman, hang on. The other one that shouldn't shock anyone, Mike Greenwell did win, to my grave disappointment, and David Mollica won, to my grave excitement. Because David and I are very close friends and have been for a while, so I'm very glad.
Yeah, and if you were following that race between David Mollica and Matt Thornton, it got really testy in the last couple of days. The last couple of weeks, there was some different mudslinging going back and forth between them, accusations, and some people came out and were really going after Thornton. and there was some
Oh yeah,
protesting
there was a tax
outside the office, so that was
There's
interesting.
a lot. Yeah. Cochran actually won election day votes, but she wasn't able to secure early in vote by mail. So Greenwell won those.
Oh, interesting.
I really thought Cochran had a chance. I was very sad. But here's the big news. So here's some of the big news. So obviously the incumbent property appraiser won, and Tommy Doyle, who's of course going through a whole scandal, which we're going to talk about next week as well. But he has a pretty Monica Lewinsky style scandal going on right now. He clobbered Mick Peters 80-20, but here's the thing, Mick Peters clobbered Andrew Sund for state committee man 60-40. This was a big shock. Andrew Sund had radio ads, he had endorsements from the big political players. I did not see that coming from a mile
Which one?
away. Mick beating Andrew for state committee man.
Oh, okay.
So even though Mick is not going to be our next supervisor of elections, he will be representing the Republican Party as state committee man. For state committee woman, Tara Jenner won the state committee woman position. That's the lady, as you know, was the one who got dragged out of the school board meeting. She is also the vice chair of the Republican Party right now. She beat out Melissa Giovanelli with 31% of the vote. So it was a very close race between those two. Chrissy Houlihan, again, another person with a lot of powerful people endorsing her and a lot of, radio ads and everything, came in third with 20% of the vote. So it was that one was also pretty shockers. So it shows at least within the Republican Party.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I was pretty shocked by those turnouts as well. So also we did have one ward race in the primary in the city of Fort Myers. So Ward 2. And that one.
Yes, it does look like it's.
That still.
Yeah, Gerardo and McMillan looked like it was coming out of that one.
Yeah, it'll be Diana Geraldo and Jackie
it looks
McMillan.
like it. Yeah,
going into
there's one more precinct waiting. Yeah, so I mean, Shawnetta might be able to pull it off. There's only about a 40 vote difference between her and Jacqueline. There's one more precinct left, so it could be flipped. But Diana's definitely coming out of the primary.
Yeah, it looks like that. So that will go to the primary as well. So very interesting results here. I think I know that there's a lot of people, Amanda Cochran put a lot of money, time, and effort. She had a big presence around Lee County, and she just wasn't able to pull that off. What do you think about that race?
From what I've been told, one of the weaknesses that she had was she was anti-growth in Alva, which I thought would be a big issue. In favor, like people wouldn't want growth in Alva because it's an agricultural area, but apparently they do. People want growth and more stuff out there in Alva. Maybe the thing is like boring, like North Cape used to be. I don't know.
Okay, though. Hold on a second. Let's keep in mind this, though. Okay, first of all, that's a Republican primary. So it was only Republicans were allowed to vote in that election, and it was an at-large. So it was everybody in the county was voting. So it's very likely that the people in Alva really do not want additional growth in Alva, but that the vote.
But that wouldn't decide the election. You're right. Alva is not the deciding factor for sure. I don't know what did it. I can't
think that one. I was watching that race. Because of the attention on it, because there was such a backlash against Greenwell, and he mounted, Randy Cochran mounted a really good, strong campaign. She was grassroots, and she had a lot of funding with her. So, but it seems
she had the strongest campaign that I think that anyone had against a Terry Miller candidate. I honestly think that she could have beaten Mike Greenwell. As of right now, though, it seems like the only person locally that has really beaten a Mike Greenwell candidate is your girl, Debbie Jordan, who I know is with you over at the convention when he beat Dan Severson. So it looks like anyone who wants to beat a Terry Miller candidate.
National or a delegate here for Florida. and we are actually working on getting the recounts underway. So,
yeah, the recount. Excuse me. The recount in District 3 will be interesting. Bill has, like you mentioned, Bill's run for a few offices and has not always been lucky. But if
he's so tacky,
I think we're going to see if there's going to be.
So here's what's pathetic about Bill Ribble, okay? Here's what's pathetic about him. First of all, he's got like $50,000 in the bank. Second of all, he didn't spend any of that money because all he did was take his old signs, cut out the office, and then place them in. Most of them didn't even have any disclaimer whatsoever.
You're cutting out a little bit.
He had everything from, he had like one he ran for the Lee Health, okay? It's really grotesque, to be honest, that somebody could be so entitled to just stepping up into the next position that they don't spend any money, they don't really try to campaign, and then they take their tacky ass signs that they just cut and put out. So, looking forward to the recount for Bill Ribble.
Yeah, look, it's probably, it wouldn't surprise me if that's the case. He probably thought, I'm running against a Democrat, it'll be easy. And this goes into what I've been trying to tell Republicans, which is the Democrats are a threat. All right? A Democrat still beat a Republican in District 7.
Don't you worry about us. Don't you worry about us, Doug. Don't worry. Don't you worry about us. But yeah, actually, I'm very excited. It's as far as the left-leaning candidates that were put up in this primary election, there was only one that succinctly did not make it out. So and that was Carol France. Carol France was somebody who was being supported by the left, and she did not make it out of this election. So,
but I think that a lot of that had to do with Melissa being such a strong candidate, and really more of a bipartisan. I know she's conservative and very well loved by conservatives, but she is someone who I know tries to build relationships, much like Debbie does. Tries to build relationships with the other side, and so I think that might have had a big pull on it as well. She's someone who has more willingness to be bipartisan and reach out.
So, but honestly, for the voters of Lee County, I just don't see how a mom versus a Creighton who just wants another elected position wasn't more of a compelling reason. But hopefully we can, we'll see how this recount goes.
Well, I'm definitely going to see which Republicans publicly endorsed Bill. I'm sure the rest of the Republican Party would like to know who those people are too. So we're going to be sniffing around that for sure. Appreciate the tips, Cindy.
I mean, honestly, there were several Republicans that we were trying to land endorsements with her, but that we just didn't. We ran out of time.
It doesn't. I mean, look, it doesn't surprise me. We have a lot of Republicans who are, and this it shows in our state committee person's race. We are a party that does not like the most establishment candidates, even though apparently we elect some of them some of the time. So we're hit and miss with that. It depends on how strong a campaign they run.
I will say this because we didn't touch on the statewide ones.
So,
but we did have Rick Scott came out of his nominal primary. He was not really ever having contentious, but he did move forward into the general election, as did Debbie Murkessel Powell for the Democrat.
Yeah.
And even though she was definitely the favorite and had a lot of support, there were a couple of folks who were trying to mount campaigns, for that seat as well, including Stanley Campbell, who I believe is Uncle Luke's cousin, who's very popular in the Miami-Dade area. So again, none of them really made much of a difference as Debbie Murkessel Powell goes to an easy win.
Yep. So Debbie versus Rick, that's going to be a race that we're going to have to really fight for.
Yep.
If we treat it like Bill Ribble treated his school board district race, we're going to lose that one, Republicans. And hang on. Here's Debbie.
Yeah,
we got another. Debbie
will be going on to the general election in November.
Debbie will be coming into the general election. Debbie, come here. Yeah. Come say hi to our audience over at Democrat and Republican Walk Into a Bar. You tell the people what you're going to be doing if you get elected as our next city council.
Well, first of all, I want to thank God and all those that supported me, my family and friends. And I just looking forward to going forward. And come November, I just want the good people here that I like to call my friends, the citizens in Cape Coral, to know that they have a voice on the city council, that I'm here to represent all of the city, not just my District 3. I raised my daughter here. My 2 grandsons are being raised here. And I want the city to maintain its loveliness, or the great place that it is when it comes to raising families. Even though it's a big city, there's still that small town feel that people generally care for each other. And I want them to know that I generally care for them, that I will be their voice. And I'm in it for as long as I need to be there to see that things get done. Because we have a lot of things to take care of here in the city, and I'm willing to work with the citizens and the rest of the council, and of course our great city employees, to see that it gets done.
All right.
Thank you.
Excellent. So Debbie is also coming out of that race. I will, I will of course let you go because you have the convention. I do want to mention one more thing because I'm watching Week News, and some of the races in Collier County seem to be interesting. The school board races, it does look like the Republican endorsed and South Oaks endorsed candidates did not win those races, at least from what I'm seeing on the Week News show. So these are all definitely things I'm going to take a look at and we'll discuss when we have our show on Sunday. But
yeah, we'll definitely get more in depth this weekend when we talk about it. We'll have a little less chaos because we won't be directly involved in the democratic process in the way that we are tonight.
As we have been, and of course you'll hopefully be home by then from the convention, and we could talk about that experience too.
Oh, for sure.
It's definitely.
Let me go check to see why Byron Donalds is here.
Yeah, apparently Byron is at the Democratic National Convention. Why? Who knows? Anyway.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us here today for this special edition of a Democrat and Republican Walk into a Bar. This is our primary night in Florida edition. A lot of surprises. And then now we're looking forward to the November 5th election, where we'll have the presidential matchup of Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump, and a lot of local elections going on. If you did not get a chance to vote in this election, now would be a great time to go to lead.vote and check out your voter registration, sign up for your vote by mail, and start learning about these candidates who are going to make a difference in our community. Thanks so much for joining us here at a Democrat and a Republican Walk into a Bar by Big Mouth Media, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Yeah, have a good night.